Welcome to the short video detailing the main features of the reception tracker created by Dave Horman. Here we're going to look at the PC version and we're going to access it online. It has been designed to be accessed from Office 365, so we'll find the area that we have stored the file. So here we're going to a demonstration area. We will then use a file that has no live data on, but that will show all the features. When you've opened the file, you will see that it opens within the Office 365 environment. When you first open the file, you'll notice there are a number of tabs at the bottom of the screen. There's also a zoom in and out button that can be used, and this also can be accessed on the tab on your toolbar. This will allow you to go and view in more detail any of the sheets on the screen. The first tab is an acknowledgements tab for everybody who has been involved in the creation of the tracker. There's also then a tab that gives some useful hints at the bottom there, and it'll tell you and explain about the tracker. We also have the intentions of the tracker. So Dave has detailed there what this is intended to be used for. We then have some questions for discussion. So this can be completed by staff when you have completed the tracker and you've looked at the various views of the data. You may want to create some questions for any particular meetings you have. We've got the judgments, a guide on the judgments for each of the data entry points, and a guide again on the colour coding that has been used within these points. Following this, we have the dashboard. This is a very important tab. It includes a graphical representation of the data, but also importantly on the right-hand side, we've got some filters we can use. Now, class is where we're going to enter our data. This is where staff will enter their judgments during the data collection points. And finally, an individual report tab, which will allow you to see a complete overview of a child's progress throughout the year. As already mentioned, staff will enter their data at the Class tab, and they have some yellow highlighted columns. These should not be changed, the contents of these columns, as they are calculation columns. To enter your judgments, go to the Class tab and select a child, and by doing so you will then be able to scroll across to your baseline assessment. You can then select any of the areas of the curriculum and tap the little arrow that appears when you click onto the cell. You can then assess the child using the drop-down menu. So to repeat, just tap on the cell and then you'll be given a drop-down menu. You can then go along and assess all the different areas of the curriculum, and you'll see in that calculated column at the end, it will auto-calculate for you an assessment. On the Class tab, there is lots of information down at the bottom of the sheet, but of course classes vary in size, so we can filter the number of rows that we're going to see to enable us to easily see calculations at the bottom of the sheet. So here, if we scroll down, you'll see there's lots of empty rows because of course class sizes vary. So we can filter using the filter button at the top of each of the columns, and I can select blanks and turn that off. So when I scroll back down now, you'll see that the blanks have been taken out and calculations are at the bottom that I could easily see. So very useful to be able to filter the blanks out. You can then pop the blanks back in again and select all, and they'll be placed back in. And that's an easy way to simplify the view of your class data. When you have entered your data on the Class tab, we'll then return to the dashboard for the graphical overview. So you can see here on the left hand side, I'm going to look at this area, and I've got 16 children in the listening and attention area. I'm going to return to my class and I'm going to make a few changes. So I'm just going to change a couple of these areas. So if you remember, we tap on a tab, we select from the drop down list, and we can go through our sheet and amend our judgments as we see. What we then need to do is, if I return to the dashboard, you'll see that the numbers involved, so that 16 still remains 16. What I must do is I must refresh the data. So at the top here, I've got a refresh button, and when I tap refresh, you can see that number changes. So it's enter data and then refresh, otherwise your data on your dashboard will not reflect your changes. When you first view the dashboard, it will include all of the children in your cohort. One of the things that's definitely worth checking is at the top right-hand side of the page, you can see the filters. Now, it's worth checking here that you've got on roll set to yes and not no, because otherwise that will include any children who may have left. So check that that's set to yes. Then what you can do is you can select on class, and you can see the number there has gone down to 13 on the left-hand side, number of people. You can toggle in between the classes there, and you can also then select any of the other filters. Now, an important thing here is to note you've got a clear filter button, and if you tap that, it will then take the filters off and returns it to the point that you originally had for that filter. So you can see there we've got 17 still in the class. Now, you can select a number of filters. You can combine filters, so you can choose females, males, you can choose pupil premium with females. What you can also do is you can select by language on the left. So if I choose Arabic there, that'll be reflected. So if we go back up, we've only got one child, as you can see on the left there. His language is Arabic. And one of the other great things you can do is you can select multiple languages. So I could choose Arabic or Italian, or I can use the little button there, which is called the multi-select button. So if I tap on that button for the language filter, I can then go through and I can select a number of languages. So if I choose 3 languages here, it'll then show me I've got 2 children who speak those languages. And again, we can do the exact same thing. We can turn the filters off using the little red cross icon there. And this filter again can be combined with a number of filters. The final tab in the tracker is the individual pupil report, and this uses the green box on the right to identify the child. So a number needs to be entered into that box to show the child. You can see here we have a complete overview of a child's progress. To get this number here, if we return to the class tab, on the far left of the sheet, we've got the unique pupil identifier number. If we copy that number, so in this case 9,000, into the box, it will refresh and then we'll be able to see the record for that child. So it auto refreshes and then it'll bring in the data. So you can copy that number and bring it across. We hope this video has been useful. Any questions, please do get in touch.